So this is what you have to do. Turn your passion into some real cash. Make a move now to bet138.com, the best online sports betting and virtual gaming company in town, introducing the online casino. So register and bet with us to enjoy 200% bonus on your first deposit on www.138.com. First, I'll get a feel get a taste really of our better odds, endless markets and prompt payments, live in-play betting. Enjoy our unbeatable odds boost for all major leagues and Champions League matches here. 138.com is licensed and regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Please not for persons under 18 years. Bet responsibly. Join the winning team now. 138.com. Win every day. So now you know what to do there. We'll have to get into our issues for the afternoon, but you have to quickly send us your messages on our WhatsApp line 0244 340 437. That's because we're asking that interesting question: how would the Clasico really be without Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo? Yes, we know that Real Madrid are having issues trying to sort out how to replace Cristiano Ronaldo, but how about Barcelona, who will be without Lionel Messi? El Clasico will be on this Sunday, but we have to start with Formula One. And we may well know the champion. Now, it's something we've known for some time. Lewis Hamilton wants to tie up his 5th world title with a victory in Sunday's Mexican Grand Prix, despite needing only 7th place in that race. Now, Hamilton is 70 points ahead of Ferrari's Sebastian Vettel with only 75 points available in the final 3 races. Last year, Hamilton clinched the title in Mexico with a 9th place finish. We'll be keeping our eyes across the practices and the main race on Sunday, but we're trying to do a build-up for that, and here's a preview to the weekend's Grand Prix in Mexico. The BBC's Formula One commentator Jack Nichols has been speaking to former Formula One driver Rahul Lempama, and they've been having interesting discussions out there. Looking forward to all of this. So enjoy this, and we'll be back with more.
F1 Formula One, the Mexico Grand Prix.
Down in the paddock is Jenny Gow, who will be parading the pit lane over the course of the weekend for our Jenny. It's university loved, really, Mexico City, isn't it?
Absolutely. We haven't been racing for very long in this iteration, I suppose, of Mexico City, but to come here, you land into Mexico City, and the buildings, the size of Mexico City is just incredible. And then you actually get here to the circuit, and you go into that huge baseball stadium, the Foro Sol, and this weekend is going to be a total sellout. You can imagine hundreds of thousands of people are going to pour in here in the hope that they'll see either Lewis Hamilton being crowned title, if they're Hamilton fans, or Sebastian Vettel being able to stage another upset potentially. But it's a beautiful day here. A few white clouds just scudding around the sky and beautiful sunshine pouring down. And they've even set up a Barbers here, Jack, so that people can go and celebrate Movember. Sergio Perez, Force India driver, has already been down there, and I'm sure as the weekend goes on, more and more creative moustaches will be seen around the paddock.
Yeah, pretty universally loved, this Mexico City circuit, named after the Rodriguez brothers who raced in Formula One in the 1960s and early 1970s. But before we move on to Mexico City, only, 4 days have passed since it seemed Lewis Hamilton was going to wrap up his 5th World Championship in Austin, starting from pole position. Where did it all go wrong? How did it all go wrong?
Well, did it all go wrong? I think maybe that's a bit of an over-exaggeration, really. He finished 3rd in the Grand Prix. He beat Sebastian Vettel. It wasn't like a disastrous race for him at all. He just didn't win the title. And largely it came to, firstly, probably most importantly, in fact, not getting his Mercedes car off the line as well as Kimi Raikkonen did in Austin. Then a bit of strategy as well. I don't think Mercedes made the best of it. Then good drives, you have to say, from Raikkonen and Verstappen to beat him. So there was a lot of things that didn't come together. The Ferrari pace was intriguingly good, really, as well. Having been not really there in Singapore, Russia and Japan, just constantly about half a second away, they were right there on pace. So it all contributed to Hamilton having a trickier race in 3rd, but he still beat Sebastian Vettel.
It was the first time in 8 races that Hamilton hadn't finished 1st or 2nd, and considering those were the positions he needed to be in to win the championship, it just turned into not one of those days, really.
Yeah, it was a strange. We thought before the race there was a reasonable chance of him doing it, just because the Mercedes form was that good. They'd had 2 1-2s on the bounce in Russia and Japan, and convincingly as well. So it seemed likely that they would do it again, but it just wasn't to be.
All the permutations and combinations for this weekend. If Hamilton finishes 7th, it's done, whatever happens. If Vettel doesn't win the championship, if Vettel doesn't win the race, I should say, it's done, whatever happens. Is it harder to win championships when you don't have to achieve that highly? You know, you think back 12 months ago here in Mexico, he had to finish 5th in order to win the championship. Puncture at the first corner, down to the back. It was all a big palaver and he only finished 9th, still wrapped up the championship. But it's that a horse only jumps as high as it needs kind of thing.
No, not at all. You know, you asked Lewis Hamilton if he'd rather have to finish 7th in this Grand Prix to win the title or have to win the race. You take 7th every time, you know. It's just an easier goal. But he's not aiming for 7th place in this Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton will be aiming for the win because he's in a car that's capable of doing it.
Well, we saw back in 2008, didn't we? He only needed to finish 5th in Brazil to win the title. And McLaren said they aimed at finishing 5th. And that's where the whole thing went wrong.
Okay, so we're looking forward to that. The Mexican Grand Prix, which will definitely deliver a winner. And that winner is so known. I mean, Lewis Hamilton is taking his 5th championship and has been talking a lot about beating the likes of Michael Schumacher, who has 7, championship titles. So there's a lot to come there in Formula One. But now we'll have to talk some boxing right now because we know the consideration of the Fist of Furies fights. Wonderful one that's been happening out there at the Bukom Boxing Arena. We'll be getting into, it's week 2. That's all important. We can first of all hear from Joy Sports Selwyn Saki, who has a quick preview to that, and then I'll come in studio and speak to Nathaniel Lazo.
Of the boxing Fist of Fury was introduced at a press conference on Wednesday, 24th October at MJ Grand Hotel. Technical Director of the Ghana Boxing Authority, Coach Asare, mentioned all the 14 boxing clubs participating in the Fist of Fury boxing series and announced the professional and amateur bouts coming on this weekend. Technical consultant of the Ghana Boxing Authority, Moses Famoinin, gave a good remark for the first week of the series, though he pointed out some problems they faced.
And we are assuring Ghanaians that this sort of thing will not happen again. Now, has the GBA taken steps? Yes. Indeed, on Sunday, it's a multi-pronged sort of strategy we have. The disciplinary measures will be taken by the GBA. All those licensees who run into trouble will be taken through the disciplinary process.
Well, there was some positive news as Mr. Moinin confirmed that Fist of Fury has attracted some sponsors who are interested in supporting the game.
That's where we can get sponsors, and I can assure you that they are trooping in.
That's good news to know that there's some sponsorship coming in already for a competition that is barely a week old, or yes, a day old. Joining me in the studio to do some analysis and what will be happening this weekend at the Bukom Boxing Arena, Joy Sports editor Nathaniel Ato, who's so much on the beats. Nat, would you be in the ring anytime this weekend?
Not this evening.
Not this evening. Okay.
A little emergency, but
okay.
Like I said, this is a very good idea that we're all trying to push and ensure that it sits very well within the space of relevance when it comes to our sports here in the country. Fight Night 1 taught us a lot of very big lessons. Number one, that in the future when we're constructing our sporting edifices, we need to put a lot of things into consideration. Now, the Bukom Boxing Arena is a fantastic idea, is a fantastic edifice for sport and promoting boxing for that matter, but when you start thinking about the way our weather is changing, and we're not very sure when we have the rainy season, and we're not very sure when it's going to be hot. You'd think that probably it should have been covered, so that then when we have tournaments and the rain comes in, then everything just messes up. Also, of course, there is the option of using the smaller hall, but of course that means that the numbers are going to be cut into half. So on Fight Night 1, it was very interesting. We had some very good fights as well, and like I said, it's 3 tiers. So the juveniles take over very early in the afternoon because school kids come over there to watch. And it's a good platform for helping young kids aspire to go into the sport of boxing. Gone are the days where parents thought that white-collar jobs were the way to go. Look, sport is a big industry, and like I always say, in the third world, we're still coming to terms with it. The West, Europe, they saw it long ago. They saw the platinum mine in it long ago, and the training hands to get into the sector and into that industry, and they're milking it. You know, so in the same way, these kids come there, they watch these, these bouts, the juvenile bouts, and some of the kids are in the schools that are represented there. So it's more of your classmates are there, and it's a whole new experience. You know, it's a whole new experience now. So away from like the spelling bee and the quizzes that are held and all the math competitions, the essay competitions, the speaking competitions, now you have a sport competition that will sit within the basic education system, and that is boxing. It's a good thing to know. So great numbers of kids there. Among the schools were University Primary last Friday, and they had a good time. And then later in the evening we had a minimum of 12 amateur bouts, which also went very well. And this sparks great competition amongst the gyms in Accra and elsewhere, you know. So it's a good thing. You know, we've always complained at the juvenile level and at the amateur level, we've complained heavily about how we do not have the opportunities to get our boxers the exposure and the required training to get the technique well and to craft their own individual styles going into our major international multi-sport events like the All Africa Games and the Olympic Games. But here we are, we have this regular platform which is going to give them it. But because guess what? Guillermo Rigondov, who used to be the unified champion in the bantamweight division from Cuba, has close to
over 100 amateur bouts.
100 is an understatement. Look, he's hovering somewhere around 500.
Wow,
you understand?
Amateur fights.
Exactly.
Yeah, before
and when you get
pro.
And when you come here to Ghana, the most exposed, I mean, in the last 15 years, the most exposed amateur boxers have maybe 50, 85, 60, and that is those who've even gotten the opportunity to fight in other tournaments in the sub-region and all of that, you know. So put that aside, we come to the professionals. I mean, the professionals, they live and they drink, they eat boxing, you know, and for them it's welcome news because this is a regular competitive platform for them and they get to earn something as well. And of course, in terms of what is in it for those who come to partner us in terms of sponsorship, I mean, we're looking at numbers. Yes, on day one, that the rain was a very big factor in so we struggled with the numbers on day one, but the kind of entertainment, and I'm sure that people will go home and say, hey guys, you missed a lot.
It was good. So you're expecting even more numbers.
Great stuff. And of course there's a mixture of entertainment. In between the fights we're going to have musical performances, and this is live band music. I mean, you know how much you have to pay when you go around to the hotels and stuff for live band music. So there's live band music. There is also a fashion show that takes place in between the bouts. So it's going to be an interesting night. I mean, if what the likes of Daniel Laye, John Akulugu, the Firestone did last weekend, it was. I mean, we're going to see some very good boxing.
That. All right. Now, thank you very much for joining us, and of course we'll be looking forward to everything that happens, and we'll be bringing you a report on Monday. That's good. There's more football discussion to come. We'll be talking about the El Clasico, but you see, I was asking my Real Madrid friends, it's been difficult for you to replace Cristiano Ronaldo. Some of them say no, they have to move away. We'll be having a discussion in the studio and finding out, who is likely to suffer the most. I mean, if Lionel Messi should leave Barcelona, because we have a little bit of an idea what's going to be happening out here. Real Madrid without Cristiano Ronaldo is looking interesting. What would Barcelona without Lionel Messi also look like? We'll get into that one and build up to the Clasico that's taking place on Sunday. Now, though, we have to head into English Premier League issues, and I had a wonderful chat with the BBC's Mas Faruqi. We're talking about Manchester United, Man City, Tottenham. That's a good game to come on Monday. But yes, where are Chelsea and Liverpool really at this weekend? Let's go for the Joy Sports BBC two-way series, and when I come back, we'll get into some more football. Thanks, Mars, for your time, and let's begin with the Champions League action we saw in midweek. Manchester United boss Jose Mourinho hinted the gulf in class was vast against Juventus. Is that enough to explain how poor his side were on the night?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, some of the comments he made in the press conference after that match. He was talking a lot about the amount of money that Juventus have been able to spend, wasn't he, in the build-up to the start of this season. We can't look past United's former player, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo, the amount of money that they spent on him. But I think a little bit of those comments were a dig almost at his own board and his own chairman for not giving him more money to buy more players at the start of this season. So a little bit of a dig there. So I think really he's making a few excuses, isn't he, already? So close to the start of the season for the reason why his Manchester United side aren't performing in Europe and aren't performing particularly well in the Premier League at the moment. Really, that he doesn't think that he's been backed financially to really be able to compete at the highest level. So I think really he's not really expecting great results in Europe this season, and they really were outclassed, weren't they, by Juventus in every aspect on the pitch in midweek in the Champions League. So I think really he set his side out knowing that it was going to be a bit of a difficult night for them, and that's what it proved to be, didn't it, in the end?
Mars, is it fair to say Jose Mourinho is back under huge pressure ahead of United's EPL fixture against Everton this weekend?
Well, I think that match against Chelsea last weekend in the English Premier League was a very interesting one, wasn't it? I know all the headlines were taken by that really bizarre melee at the end when Ross Barkley equalised for Chelsea in injury time. One of Maurizio Sarri's assistants seemed to say something to Jose Mourinho and started some kind of confrontation, which then had to be pulled apart by stewards. It was all very dramatic, wasn't it? But I think actually a draw against Chelsea last weekend was probably a fair result, and probably actually what United fans would have settled for, really, seeing particularly how they performed in the first half. So I don't know if he's necessarily as much under pressure as he has been in recent weeks. Certainly not as much pressure as he was leading into, for instance, the Newcastle game a couple of weeks ago. Certainly United fans and the board will be hoping for a result against Everton. As ever, I think it's about the way they get the 3 points, not just the 3 points they'll be hoping for. They'll be hoping for a good performance, I think.
Well, Mars, rivals Manchester City had a good win at Shakhtar Donetsk, but head coach Pep Guardiola reiterated City is not ready to win the Champions League. In his third season already with a former UEFA Champions League semi-final side, is that a statement of fact or simply playing mind games here?
Well, he's underplaying, isn't he, City's chances of winning the Champions League this season. It's probably the only competition that City haven't really performed very well in yet, isn't it? And I think it's fair to say that the fans and the chairman and the team, that's the trophy they really want to win, isn't it? And it's been a while since Pep Guardiola won it as a manager as well, a few seasons since he won it. So I think he's downplaying it for everyone, really. And he also accused the fans this week of not really putting their full support behind the team in Europe, in the Champions League. So I think he's just trying to deflect attention away, really, from some of the positive performances they've had in the Champions League. They obviously did very well against Shakhtar Donetsk, as you say. Kevin De Bruyne was back on the pitch, which I think was very positive to see in terms of if you're a Manchester City fan, certainly. I think he's downplaying things, as you say, maybe just to try and deflect a little bit of attention away from his side, try and make sure that all the eyes, all the attention are on some of the other big teams in the Champions League, the likes of Juventus, who are unbeaten so far. They've got 3 wins so far in their group. Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Barcelona, all those teams. I think he's happy for the focus to be on them and for his team to quietly go about their business and then see how far they can get in this competition.
Is Spurs up next for Manchester City and easily passes as the key game of the weekend? Will Spurs recover early enough from the midweek disappointment to face City on Monday?
Well, it was a very disappointing game, as you say, wasn't it? I know a lot of Spurs fans very well, and they were very disappointed with that decision from Hugo Lloris to run out when he did, so close to the end of the match, to make that tackle, a poorly timed tackle, wasn't it, and then get sent off in that game. It's very interesting to see. Spurs fans and the media here in England, it's fair to say, have been saying that Spurs haven't had the best start to the season. Of course, they had so many players playing in Russia in the latter stages of the World Cup, didn't they? I believe they had more players in the last 4 teams at the World Cup than any other football club in Europe or around the globe. More players at the World Cup. So I think people have been expecting them to still be tired at the beginning of the season. But actually, here in the English Premier League, they've made the best start ever that they've ever had to a season. So all this kind of downplaying how well they're doing is maybe a little bit odd. So certainly in the league, they've managed to recover from poor results they've had in Europe already this season, and I think obviously they'll be hoping they'll be able to do that again. But what a tough match it will be against Manchester City, as you say, on Monday.
Finally, Mars, which games would you recommend for EPL addicts and why?
Well, I think Saturday's match, we can't look past Liverpool against Cardiff, can we? Sadio Mane, he obviously had that hand injury, didn't he, that he needed surgery on following Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers, but he scored in midweek for Liverpool in the Champions League, so hopefully he'll be expecting to be able to score again this weekend. I expect Liverpool to do very well against Cardiff City on Saturday. And I'm also looking at some of Sunday's games. Chelsea obviously travelled to Burnley. I think Chelsea will believe that they can win that one, particularly after that late Ross Barkley goal to get a draw against Manchester United last weekend, as we've already discussed. Crystal Palace against Arsenal. Arsenal on this great run of form, aren't they? I think it's 11 wins in succession now for them. They've won 7 back-to-back in the league now, so I think they'll also be hoping for a win against Crystal Palace. And Sunday's other match, Manchester United against Everton. That one will be quite tight, but we've already talked about that one, haven't we? I think Jose Mourinho will be hoping that United can get a win there. And then Monday, you really have to look at that match, Tottenham against Manchester City, don't you? It's the match of the weekend. It's been moved to Monday because of Tottenham's continued problems with their stadium being finished on time. They're still having to play at Wembley, and there's an American football game going on at Wembley on Sunday, so they've had to move that to Monday night, which is a bit of a shame for them and the fans. But I think City will probably do it, won't they? They had such an impressive Champions League game in midweek, and I think they'll be expecting another win in that one.
Live on radio, live online, this is The Locker Room with George Addo Jr.
Yeah, so English Premier League games, very good ones to look forward to this weekend, and we'll do just that. Yeah, we've got Manchester United, Everton for you right there on the Joy Sports Arena. Yeah, you want to join us, the EPL Club will be on. We will get into the Barcelona Real Madrid discussion very shortly, but we have to go to Moses Yeboah to give us a round of games to look forward to. A quick wrap there. Moses is looking in Spain, Italy, France and Germany. Here's Moses Yeboah.
The biggest regularly scheduled game in club football is upon us. El Clasico is set for this Sunday as Barcelona will host their eternal rivals Real Madrid. Both sides have looked far from their invisible selves so far this season, and a victory for either side will go a long way to boost confidence. The Serie A weekend presents a host of entertaining matches for fans to salivate over. The most appealing of the lot being Napoli's home game against AS Roma. Napoli have been chasing Juventus for 2 seasons now and will try to continue the chase on Sunday at the San Paolo Stadium. Defending champions Juventus will look to bounce back from their disappointing draw against Genoa when they travel to face Empoli. Hertha Berlin will have its away mettle, which was quite poor last term, tested when they travel to inform Borussia Dortmund in Saturday's primetime match. Both sides come into this match off the backs of great starts on the opening weekend. Men's 05 need not look far for inspiration as they beat to cut Bayern Munich down to size again on Friday evening. Bayern stalled a run of 3 games without a win in all competitions by beating Bayer Leverkusen last weekend. But if they are to move back to the Bundesliga summit on Friday night, they know they need an improvement this weekend. Marseille welcome Paris Saint-Germain on Sunday evening, with both teams looking to continue the unbeaten runs in Ligue 1 after both sides endured a disappointing European action in midweek. Confidence is low at Manchester United as they host Everton at Old Trafford on Sunday. Everton have won their last 3 matches in the Premier League and can give the Red Devils a run for their money. Elsewhere, Chelsea play away to Burnley. Liverpool hosts Cardiff City, while Tottenham Hotspur hosts leaders Manchester City on Monday.
Moses Yeboah with a wrap, and you know where to get to in terms of the games to look forward to this weekend. Now time to get into the classical talk. We'll be activating our phone lines pretty early for you to get into it, and you can put that down 0302-216-541. Messi and Ronaldo have been the brightest stars in the galaxy of world-class talents, and I'm sure they were the true definition of El Clasico. Messi is a fixture's all-time leading scorer, 26 goals and assists, 14 of those, while Ronaldo holds a record for the most consecutive Clásicos with a goal, 6 games, all in 2012. Which 2 players will make the cut for the missing duo?
Messi takes it down on his thigh, shoots and scores! Wonderful! Through the wall and into the back of the net. Right foot shot. Oh, it's a lovely goal. Mariano, the substitute, with the exclamation point. Oh, terrific one for Real Madrid. Towards the deep. It's another stunning. It's Ousmane Dembélé who doubles Barcelona's lead.
no love lost between the two sides. Barcelona up against Real Madrid. Joining me in studios to do the analysis. Then I've got Rico Ampofo. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
yes. Enoch Fifi Forsen, Efsin, how you doing?
Fantastic, George.
It feels a bit strange when I mention his full name. And my colleague Benedict Owusu. Benedict, how are you doing?
Yes, George, I'm doing good.
Yeah. He's a man full of awards and a fantastic one, leading the lights in the industry. Benedict, it's good to have you just in the studio. Guys, I think we'll have to get into our chat now. Let me start with your Rick Wampofo. And I know this argument has been on and on and on and on, but let me just put it there. Can we just simplify everything and say Real Madrid's problems are simply down to the absence of Cristiano Ronaldo?
Well, I think it's much bigger than that, and I've narrowed it down to 3 reasons why I think Real Madrid are in trouble despite their individual talent. And the first one is I think the coach, that's Lopetegui. You look at Lopetegui and Florentino Perez, he knew what he was getting when he hired Lopetegui, and proven at international level, he went through the qualifying campaign for Spain unbeaten, and he's done well with the youth sides, and he seems to be a type of coach who emphasizes on possession-heavy football and also develops a lot of young talent. So with Real Madrid's transfer policy changing over the years and, they starting to buy a lot of young players, one would think that buying young players and hiring a coach who believes in young players would emphasize on the fact that Real Madrid are starting to focus on developing young talent. And if this was truly the path that Florentino Perez was going on, then it means that Lopetegui would require time, and everybody knew his possession-heavy style would also require time. So it wasn't expected to start well for him, and I think they are going through a phase, and that's the first problem. The second problem, that's where Ronaldo comes in, and that's creating but not converting. And I think the days of free scoring Real Madrid are long gone, and Cristiano Ronaldo, he had the quality to even guide even half-baked chances into goal. But then you look at Real Madrid right now and Gareth Bale's constant injuries, Benzema losing form. At the embarrassing stages of the season, he scored 4 goals in the first 5 games, and everyone thought Benzema is going to be the man now. But unfortunately, he's now gone the next 10 games he has failed to score, and it just looks as if he cannot handle the pressure. And I think they brought in Mariano, and unfortunately for him too, he's had a shoulder far more responsible for him to carry. And I think it would have been good for Mariano to come in when Benzema and Ronaldo was there for him to serve as a super sub in the team. But unfortunately, he's now had more responsibility than he envisaged, and it seems to be more than he expected, and he hasn't really delivered so far. And the last problem for me has been inconsistencies at the back, and it's kind of unfortunate that you see the likes of Dani Carvajal being injured. Marcelo has had 2 knocks in just 2 weeks, and he's also a doubt for the Clásico. Carvajal is also a doubt, so it looks like Nacho would start in right back. And for Ramos and Varane, I do not know why, but Varane seems to have switched off after the World Cup, and Ramos seems to be also fighting his aging legs. So there's been a lot of trouble. There's been a lot of trouble at the back, and they've been conceding a lot of goals, and that we could tell from how the defensive players suffered to handle Levante's Morales. Yeah, so they did tend to struggle, and you would ask yourself that if they are struggling against Morales, how much more Luis Suarez, who we know is very dramatic. So a lot of trouble in the Madrid camp, and I think it's a very important game for Julian Lopetegui, because if he fails to win this game,
he might be in trouble.
It's good.
It's good that we took the chronicle. You have been able to chronicle the problems of Real Madrid there. Okay, let's keep it there. Benedict, let me come to you. But we know, of course, if Ronaldo was there, Lopetegui will be giving some daylight. I mean, there'll be some room for him to relax and a bit of a respite, because if Ronaldo was scoring and converting all these chances, he'll be free.
Yeah, what has changed about the Real Madrid team from the team that won the UEFA Champions League last season? 2 major things. One, the coach is no longer there, the one that won the back-to-back. Zinedine Zidane, a new coach is in, and also Cristiano Ronaldo is not in the team. Those are the 2 major things that have changed about the team. So what happens? Lopetegui comes in, as Rico intimated, his fine record with the Spanish team prior to qualifying for the World Cup, won all his games and got sacked at the World Cup. Now he comes into a Real Madrid team that lost Cristiano Ronaldo and failed to
replace him,
to replace Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, what it does to other teams coming to play Real Madrid is you give them confidence. I mean, if Cristiano Ronaldo is there, if Lionel Messi is your team, if you have these top team players in your teams and teams are coming to play, obviously because you know that there is one person in that team that can always change things around for the team. Because if you look at this Real Madrid team, and if Cristiano Ronaldo were still at Real Madrid, things wouldn't be going the way things are going for them now. So
at least they'll be scoring goals.
Absolutely,
and
because they are creating, but they are not scoring. You remember when they started the season when they were creating chances and were scoring. That we even said that Real Madrid at this point are not even going to miss Cristiano Ronaldo. What happened? Now they are creating and there are no players to score. You watch their game against Levante and Isco, is it Vasquez? What was his name?
Vasquez.
I mean, he missed a sitter that if you have Cristiano Ronaldo in your team, definitely will score that goal. So they are creating chances and there are no players to score, and that's the main problem with the Real Madrid team now.
Let me come to you, let me come to you, Barcelona, because Efsin is a huge Barca fan. You know, Efsin, let's now talk about the problems of Barcelona. Can we start from the back?
Yeah, of course, and Barcelona have been conceding left, right, centre this season, and it was not the case last season. Remember last season when Ernesto Valverde took over? One thing that many people applauded him for was the fact that he had fixed Barcelona's defence. And remember going over 30 games without losing, not conceding. But at this time last season, Barcelona had conceded fewer number of goals. This time we've conceded 11, and that's huge. And Piqué has come under huge criticism, and his partnership with Lenglet has also been criticized in the past few weeks. But I think it has to do with consistency at the back, and Umtiti is not available due to injury, and Lenglet is a new acquisition and is trying to find his feet. So I think with time they're going to find the partnership is going to go well.
I think a partnership is going to go well, and like you're saying, you probably need a bit of help, you know, even from the right fullbacks and left fullbacks when it is, and even that's also not looking stable. As I know Jordi Alba, yes, on the left, of course, but on the right,
Jordi Alba is stable on the left, but Semedo is not at the right back. I think Semedo is a fine right back.
What is he thinking? What's his plan really for Semedo right now?
I think he's lost focus. For me, he wants to do more in attack, but anytime he has the ball at the final in attack, he doesn't know what to do with the ball. So, and when it comes to defending too, he cannot just defend, and Sergio Roberto also cannot defend. So at the right back, there's a problem for Barcelona.
I think it boils down to the form of Sergio, Piqué. He's lost.
He's lost. And after Piqué, he's lost it. From the World Cup, we also.
You know what happens?
Tell me.
You know what happens? What happens normally is, I mean, if you're in a team where the back four, at least you have one playing very well, that person can pull the rest of the team along. Because I mean, Piqué is an established player of Barcelona. He's been playing there for only God knows how long, and he's always been doing very well. But what have we been seeing of him this season? He's dipped in form, not playing very well. So what do you expect from the other players?
And it's expected. And it's expected. So I want to know from you. You think Valverde is on a trajectory to try and get this sorted out? You know, because this Semedo issue with Sergio Roberto is one to deal with on the right. Jordi Alba is not like the best, and Lenglet is learning, and Gerard Piqué, and Sergio Busquets is also losing legs in front of that defense.
I think they've showed signs, and we saw signs against Inter Milan. You look at FC Barcelona, and for the right back situation, and fun fact, for every 25 games that Semedo plays, Barcelona have to go back and pay Benfica. So that could be.
You think that could be a reason? Okay, anyway, but not at the expense of losing games. That
is the player who's playing very well.
I mean, his justice alone can sort that out. Yes, because even in front of the defense, if it's Arturo we're looking at, you know, there's still some work to be done in the Inter Milan game. And why I do not want to have a lot of emphasis or place a lot of emphasis on that game is because look, they didn't have a player like Nangolan who could have made a lot of difference for Inter Milan in midfield.
But I think the real positive for FC Barcelona is, unfortunately, they play better defensively when Lionel Messi is absent on the pitch, and that's a hard fact that the fans have to deal with. Because let's face it, when Messi plays, he doesn't track back on that right side. So what happens is that Rakitic now has to fill the hole at the wide side, because now fullbacks do attack, and it will be a 2v1 on the right back if Rakitic doesn't join in. And if Rakitic joins in, then that means that Busquets is now left exposed, because he has to now deal with all the attack coming, and he doesn't really have the legs. So I think they defend better as when Lionel Messi is not around. That's why I'm pretty confident about this El Clasico, that they wouldn't lose in terms of defensively. Defensively, they wouldn't concede a lot of goals. And I think with time, with time, the team would come good. Lenglet and Piqué forming a defensive partnership requires time, and it's improving. And they managed to keep Icardi shut. They kept Icardi quiet. So I think that's a positive for the Barcelona fans to take. And Arthur, he looks very good. I think Barcelona look in better shape for this El Clasico than Real Madrid.
That's what it may seem. I mean, Benedict, for a fact, Madrid will create chances. Madrid can't control the midfield battle if Modric and Co can keep the game on. The problem is that they can score. Where do you see this going?
Very, very tight. I mean, forget about the form of Real Madrid, and because both teams are not playing the best of football as they are noted for. I mean, the Real Madrid by Barcelona some 3 seasons
form in
ago.
La Liga has been abysmal.
Some 3-4 seasons ago.
Top end, whatever.
So I mean, it's equal.
Yeah.
For the two teams,
it's anyone's chance.
It's anyone's chance. Anyone can win.
Okay.
But obviously, I mean, looking at the last results in the UEFA Champions League, how Real Madrid even had to struggle to beat Victoria Pleasant, and for Barcelona to beat Inter Milan. Inter Milan, who we all know, they have been doing very well in the Serie A. Obviously, you go for a Barca win. But I think that Real Madrid can surprise Barca.
The Locker Room on Joy 99.7 FM is brought to you by Bet138.com. Win every day. We'll be activating our phone lines right about now. 0302216541. But guys, can we begin to prepare for no Messi, no Ronaldo? Well, like in the next 5 years, how are these two teams gonna go? Because it was gonna be easy. It was gonna be very easy to say Ronaldo, Messi will have all the, the banners and all the promo running around two key players. I want you guys to now tell me which two players you think, at least for this El Clasico, can fly out there.
Even before we go to the two players, I mean, if you look at Barca, I saw an article where they put statistics of matches that Lionel Messi missed for the club, and the number of results, and also the number of goals that they scored. And you realize that if you compare that to that of Real Madrid, Barca way better than Madrid. Even if Lionel Messi is not around, they're able to win games, they're able to score goals. But what happens is, if he's not going to be there, like the way Cristiano Ronaldo is gone, and Real Madrid now is dealing with the absence of Cristiano Ronaldo, what's going to happen? And I think I have an answer to that.
What is it?
Now, there's a Coutinho who was holding the Liverpool team.
Okay, wait. Mary, hold on. Let me pick my first caller. Is Yaro on the line? Yaro, good afternoon.
Fine afternoon, George Adojina.
Yeah. My Manchester United fan. You are good, right?
Yeah, I'm diehard of United.
Oh yeah, I know. Now Real Madrid versus Barcelona. Where is this going for you?
Oh, George, actually, those two teams, I don't have any hot feeling for them. Actually, I used to have a soft edge for Madrid because way back, Baba 7, the best footballer ever in my opinion.
Okay.
They have a soft edge for them. But the moment Baba 7 is no more there, I'm just recognized what say a big stance to what they kill LeBron James to back for what the NBA for Lakers. That's what I have to say.
All right.
Of Royal Classico, I don't give a damn for them.
All right, thank you very much, Yaro. From Ikoko, Eben is calling us from airport. Eben, how are you doing?
I'm very well.
Are you close to Terminal 3?
Come again?
Are you close to Terminal 3?
Am I what?
Are you close to Terminal 3?
No.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm in Airport Residential.
Okay, that's fine. Eben, let's go.
Yeah, I'm calling concerning the Barcelona Real Madrid game.
Tell me.
Your pundits were talking about the Barca problem, the defense and all that. I think generally Barcelona has always been that way. I mean, if you look at them very well, they are not the best of defensive teams. Even when Piqué had his form, Barcelona still fought defensively. But I think the problem this season is the inconsistency on the right side. And Lenglet also sometimes is caught up in his mind. But that aside, I think it's coming good. And one of the brightening things about Barcelona this season, I think, is the introduction of Arthur.
Okay. Right. Thank you. Let's go to Clement from Reach. Clement, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
How are you doing, Clement?
Oh, I'm doing well. And you?
I'm fine. How do you see this game going?
Oh, everything is fine. The Clasico, the game is going to win in the middle. That's the midfield.
And who's winning?
Who is going to dominate the midfield will win the game. Looking at Barcelona game against Inter, the midfield, the Barcelona overtake their midfield. So one of your panelists said that the Barcelona defense keep Icardi quiet. It's the midfield. The midfield is not providing him the ball. So how come that he will not be quiet? Look at where he will come from he will even come back to the midfield to take ball there. It will be impossible for him.
Okay.
And then the Madrid and then Barcelona, the middle is going to, and I hope that Madrid will win.
All right. I got you there. I got you there. My last caller is Kissy calling us from Ningo. Kissy, how you doing?
Yeah, George, very good. How are you?
I'm fine. You know, Benedict's in the studio. Want to say hi to him?
Yeah, hi Benedict.
Hi, Kissy.
Okay, Kissy, quickly, tell me.
I like
Ray Kwampofo is here. Say hi to Ray Kwampofo.
Yeah, and then George.
Yes.
I have a soft spot for Barca. My 2 boys support Barca, so I hope they win.
You hope they win?
Be very careful, especially with PK.
Okay.
Thank you very much, George.
All right, thank you very much, Kissy, for calling us. Okay, Benedict, let me allow you to land now. Now, the 2 of you, the 3 of you, So let's go around the table. Benedict, which 2 for you? Forget about Ronaldo, Messi out of La Liga. Which 2 can sell if I ask you to present a case before the La Liga marketing committee?
I think I'll go for Suarez for Barca and also Mariano. Forget about. I know. Yeah.
Mariano. Oh, that's it.
Oh, yeah, I know.
You think he'll come good?
Yeah, he'll come good. Definitely, he'll come good. He's a new man in. He was there. He left, and now he's back.
So you go for Mariano.
Cristiano Ronaldo like player. So
you don't even go for Isco. You go for Mariano.
No. Forget about Isco.
You go for Mariano.
I'll go for Mariano.
Promise. Which 2 would you present before the La Liga marketing committee?
Well, form-wise, I would go for the 2 left.
No. I'm not giving you any wise. I want you to go straight to 2.
Yeah,
don't give me.
2
so
players.
2.
I think the two players that I think they've stood out this season for their respective clubs
and can sell, because I like the Mariano bit because even if he's not playing, as you expect him to, he can sell. He's got something that can sell.
You know, George, ideally this shouldn't be hard because Modric is the best player in the world, but
selling Modric will be difficult. Selling Mariano is.
I think from a Madrid point of view, I would sell Marcelo because I think he was always the second best player to Madrid's success in the back-to-back. I think he and Ronaldo were the main threats in Europe, and so I think if anything is going to happen from Madrid's side, it would be Marcelo. From Barcelona, well, I was going to go with Jordi Alba, but for marketing purposes, I think Coutinho, this is time to step up. But I think Suarez.
No, you have to choose. You are before the marketing committee. You have to choose.
Suarez.
I think I'll go for Suarez.
You now go for Suarez.
Yeah, I'll go for Suarez.
Can we sell? Can we resell Suarez?
Can we resell? Guy. Everyone knows.
Yeah, I know, but can we resell Suarez? I don't know about that.
I'll go for Sergio Ramos.
Sergio Ramos.
Yes, he can sell.
You want to?
No, Ramos, forget about all what he does. He's very good.
Yeah,
he's a very good leader.
I know he's very good, but you want to recycle this?
Oh yeah, you can sell Ramos.
Sergio Ramos.
You can sell him with his recent utterances because he's going hard at the play.
He has a huge influence in La Liga. Remember the game in USA?
Yeah.
He led the campaign to La Liga offices.
I understand, but well, they should be selling Piqué. Let's see who we choose ambassador then.
Of course, Piqué. President Piqué.
I think then you are on some political.
President Piqué.
That tangent we are not sure about. Oh really? Okay, that's fine. Efshin, thank you very much for joining me on the show. Thank you very much to Ray Kwampofo for joining me as well. And Benedict Owusu, it's great. We have a wonderful weekend coming up, Sports Link and Sports Arena. We'll see how that goes. Thank you very much for the calls that have come in today. My name is George Addo Jr. This has been a wonderful edition of the Locker Room. We are back next week with more. Let's see how it all pans out till we meet next week. Have a super weekend.